World Economic Forum deletes Sri Lankan Prime Minister article boasting a plan to make country rich by 2025. you know, the WEF they this is evidence that the Green New Deal that AOC keeps speaking on and wants for our country, it goes to show that it doesn't work. So of course they want to delete this stuff and get rid of this stuff that proves, test cases that show that this stuff would be terrible for any country. They want to get rid of anything that has to do with that. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. And there's also a link to my merch store. Let's talk about this news. The World Economic Forum, WEF, has removed a 2018 article by Sri Lankan Prime Minister on Tuesday touting a plan to make the country rich by 2025 following the total collapse of the country. I mean, you should look at some of the videos. It's all over YouTube and on the interweb and all that other stuff. And you can see the people was up in an uproar. That's why the prime minister had resigned and a whole bunch of other government resigned because they pushed this green agenda and it's destroying their country. People are starving. Farmers are upset and hurt. They can't farm like they normally do. It's a mess out there. But in the now deleted article titled, "This is How I Will Make My Country Rich by 2025, Prime Minister," and y'all know I'm going to mess his name up, but I'm going to try my best, Ranil Wickremesinghe, Wickremesinghe, laid out his vision to, quote, strategically position Sri Lanka and the hub of Indian Ocean, in part by imposing WEF sponsored environmental initiatives to address climate change. I mean, this is the thing. It's basically communism. This is just another way for them to control you. They don't want you to be able to plant what you want to plant and all this other stuff. It's all about controls. All you have to do is just read AOC's crazy Green New Deal. They want to kill all the cows so you don't have cow farts anymore, and it's just a whole bunch of, you won't be able to fly on a plane anymore. Just a whole bunch of nonsense. But I'm going to call him Wicker because I can't pronounce his name. But Wicker cited the WEF as an organization that will help him achieve his goals. Quote, the 27th World Economic Forum on ASEAN in Hanoi, Vietnam, provides me with the opportunity to showcase the landmark changes in Sri Lanka and our growing economic interconnection with the ASEAN region and beyond. He concluded, it will build up. It will build upon the foundations of the historical and cultural ties that have existed for many centuries and which bind our people irrevocably. Notably, Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, whatever. I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend, but I can't pronounce his name. But he also promised in 2019 to transition the country's farmers to organic agriculture over 10 years, following up in April 2021 by imposing a nationwide ban on fertilizers and pesticides and ordering the country's 2 million farmers to go organic, which is just crazy and it's expensive and you can't do it. Just a few years later, Sri Lanka's president fled the country and the prime minister, Wicker, resigned last week after the people revolted and stormed their residences. And this would be the same stuff that's happening here if they try to implement this crap here. It's a mess. But before its people stormed the presidential palace and overthrew the government, Sri Lanka had one of the highest ESGs, environmental social governance scores in the world. And on the face of that, that's ridiculous in itself too. It's just another form of control. The ESG score is a new metric concocted by the corporate establishment to measure how sustainable and socially equitable nations and companies are. Well, my question is, who's the rating system? How do they rate It's just nonsense. I think they rated Tesla with something very low. Tesla, who makes electric cars, like it's unfathomable. But I think a lot of it has to do with with him. People. Elon Musk is very outspoken, and they don't really like him. They don't like that he's for freedom of speech and all that other stuff. I think that's the real reason why they have a low ESG. But the price for appeasing the globalist green initiative was the total collapse of the country. Quote, a food, energy, and financial crisis have brought down Sri Lanka government, but the underlying cause is the fact that the nation's political leaders have fallen under the spell of green elite peddling ESG and banning modern fertilizers, wrote environmental activist Michael Schellenberger. These ESG initiatives, like banning fertilizer, caused the nation's rice crop to fall by 20% in the first 6 months. Crop production dropped by 40 to 50%, and that's just 6 months. And inflation to explode to 54%, which led 500,000 Sri Lankans into poverty. It's just crazy. They don't care about the people. They pretend they do. People like AOC pretend they do, but they really don't. I mean, just look, who would support something like this? Quote, the decision to overnight shift away from synthetic fertilizers was an absolute disaster, economist Peter Early noted last week. Quote, to the extent that any part of this organic agriculture decision was made based upon some version of green or green from the ideologies, this is just the first of many unintended consequences we've seen from these kinds of policies. But I don't think it's unintended. No one can be this dumb. If you cut the production of normal fertilizer and make fertilizer more expensive, of course they're going to plant less. I mean, it's common sense. So they knew this was going to happen. So which country will fall next in trying to implement damaging WEF led policies? Um, it could be Trudeau. The Sri Lankan collapse stemmed from a fertilizer reduction policy, uh, um, just like in France. And you got Justin Trudeau. He's for it. We know that Biden is for it. He would probably be pushing it right now himself if he wasn't under so much. He wasn't underwater policy wise, poll wise. But this whole thing is crazy. We're seeing the fruits of their labor. So now I seen something online about Tucker Carlson said people should send this pictures and videos of Sri Lanka to AOC, which is great. And maybe she will. I doubt she care about any of that stuff, because she's a limousine liberal. She pretends like she really cares for the people, but we know she don't. But let me know what you think. Leave comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, and check out themarkrepublics.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.